Hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new to cryptocurrency and you want to learn more, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button as well. I'm going to talk about XRP and Bitcoin. Why is XRP so hated by the Bitcoin community? You're going to go over that, over the subtle differences of why they're so different, but also don't forget, I'm going to tell you my key recipe of why I'm growing my XRP and why I want to convert it to Bitcoin for a store of value. That is my personal opinion. So a lot of this will be my opinion first. You can listen to it, you can talk about it, you can do whatever the hell you want with it, but I'm in the newer office today, as in it's not so much new, but I've moved it all around. Where I'm sitting now used to be the bed. Behind there, I used to be in the corner, next to the door, next to a rail, cramped up to, it's horrible. So, whole new green screen will be appearing in the next few weeks, hopefully, and I will be able to be fully transparent in my videos and not be able to cut off my arms and my head. See you in a bit. Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Now, I'm going to make this very clear right now. This is very basic. This is for the beginner in cryptocurrency who want to understand why XRP and Bitcoin hate each other as communities. They're fighting all the time. So, let's get into it. First thing first, I want you to go down to the pinned comment, join the Telegram group, say hello that you're from YouTube, and I will give you some free stuff. I will give you this, a really good token that I believe in the future, long term, it will be very, very good. You know, you get some free stuff. So there you go. Nice and easy. Join it, say hello, and yeah, you'll be forever in my hood cuddles. Yay! Now, cuddles, what on earth am I talking about? Anyways, I want to talk about XRP and Bitcoin. I am a fan of both, obviously. More of a fan of Bitcoin than XRP, I'll put it out there, but that's because Bitcoin got me into this industry. Yay! And ultimately, I did it the right way around. I had Bitcoin, I learned Bitcoin, then I started to diversify the right way instead of doing it the opposite way around. Now, I'm not saying that as a dig, but most people that buy XRP, it's because someone told them to buy it, just buy XRP, don't buy anything else. And ultimately now confused, certainly if they bought at the wrong time. So, I want to talk about a few elements of why this video is quite important. Now, if you are a Bitcoin OG, I don't care if I've missed some facts. If you are an XRP OG, I do not give a crap if, again, I've missed certain elements. This is very, very basic understanding for people who want to understand. A lot of people see comments about certain things and they are very misguided because they're reading the comments and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, what do I do? I don't know what to do now. Oh, bugger. This guy's saying that Bitcoin is rubbish, this guy's saying that XRP is rubbish, what do I do? Well, the first thing you need to do is do your own research and find out for yourself. Personally, every coin has its flaws, every coin has an ism what's not quite right. Personally, my honest opinion, this is my honest opinion, I said at the start of the video I will explain to you why I grow my Bitcoin more than any other currency. I use it through the alts, okay? But I'm going to go through certain elements of what you need to do that. So stick around. You'll see it. It's obvious. It's stupidly obvious. And you shouldn't have to be told to do it. Cool. So, I'm going to go through this. I want to make this a quick and snappy video. So, again, disclaimer, not financial advice, all that good stuff. This is very, very basic. So, I want to talk about what's what. 2008. Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, financial crash, P2P payment system, done. Ripple, 2012, payment settlement system, essentially open source distributed protocol that is designed to provide secure and instant global financial transaction for nearly zero fees. Easy. So, what does that mean? One, in my personal opinion, Bitcoin fundamentally is more of a store of value to send cryptocurrency to people that you trust. Okay, a trustable system, blockchain, simple. XRP uses the currently used XRapid and XCurrent for sending payment solutions very, very fast, very, very cheap, and ultimately on their own distributed ledger. That would indicate it's got a use case. Simple as that. So that is one myth dispersed. One has a use case, one does not. Actually, in fact, both of them do. Grow up and stop fighting. Simple as that. Currencies, again, they are a little bit different in terms of how they work. One 100 billion, XRP has a lot of coins. 21 million, Bitcoin, a lot less. Ultimately, there's different elements of units and how it is kind of inflatorily used in terms of price compared to market cap, and it can confuse the living crap out of people. Bitcoin follows a proof of work, obviously, because it's a mineable coin. It's 10 minutes block sizes, means it's quite slow and sluggish, and also very expensive, which is one of the drawbacks. And Ripple uses their own system, the circle, essentially, trusted nodes and all that good stuff, but also it has elements of much more faster usage, 1500 transactions per second, for example, compared to 7, and also you've got elements that it is not a mineable asset. Centralized versus decentralized, this is one of the main things that people get upset about. Is it really? I don't know, don't really care. Every coin, in my honest opinion, as it stands, is centralized. That is my personal honest opinion. So are most of the exchanges, so we cannot get away from it at the minute. I do not think the industry is ready, so I don't even care about this argument. But ultimately, Bitcoiners think that it is centralized due to the fact of certain elements. I'm going to go through them in a minute, but I'll go through one element now. Mining. One you can mine, one you can't mine. One's self-controlled, one's not. Simple as that. But I can think of freaking loads of coins that are not mineable and controlled by something, or even if they are mineable, they can control it. So what is the point? That argument doesn't even stack. Nerves is the attitude towards banks. Right, let's put it out there. XRP are pretty bank friendly, and when you go back over the white paper of Bitcoin, they are ultimately the ones that look to be the enemy. Okay, now when you look at 2008, 2009, when it all kicked off with Bitcoin coming out and the white paper, etc., and the financial crash, a lot of people were very anti-banky. Now, when you look at that and you think, well, what Bitcoin has done and overcome, Bitcoin has not changed elements of the banking reform. It hasn't made it better, it hasn't made it worse. It's still there, it's still a nuisance, it's still a pain, it's still a middleman. Now, XRP solves that issue where it makes the banks to be used with their token, essentially, sending it, whatever, however it's used. It's one of those things. Who uses it? We all know. The partnerships are on the website. But ultimately, the main element is it can send money to people very, very fast, very, very cheap, and it makes a big difference in terms of how people use finances. Simple as that. So I do not think that is a bad point. I think that is a good point for the future, that people can start looking at these coins to be used. It's a real use case. And I'm going to talk about Stellar as well. Stellar will be mentioned in this video because co-founder of XRP, co-founder of Stellar, the same person. Would you believe? So that, for me, the argument doesn't really stack, because you can't. I do not think in our lifetime the banks will be overruled. I think the banks will always be there. I just think they'll be enhanced. I think cryptocurrency and decentralization of distributed ledgers, for example, whoever they use, will make it better. And it will make it cheaper. It will make it a trustworthy system based off the blockchain protocol itself. And that is my fundamental opinion of it. Okay? But I don't think Bitcoin will be that, and I think that's what upsets them, personally, because Bitcoin hasn't got the minerals or the usage or the fundamentals to do it in their code. It cannot do it. It's impossible. So that is why XRP comes out on top on that one. So let's have a little look at a few articles. As I mentioned before, it's a very, very brief synopsis of what's happening, and I want to go through a few things of why people dislike certain elements of it and why they kind of fight. This is one. I'm going to mention this 589 number. This annoys Bitcoin lovers and myself and other cryptocurrency geeks, because the community are so passionate about XRP, they come out with wild and wonderful words and numbers. They change their avatars on Twitter and Reddit, they have their hashtags, they are XRP Army, and they shill everything. But yes, they're passionate, I like that, they care about their project, but ultimately their followers are ridiculous. Now, if you are an XRP follower and you believe what I'm saying, you're probably right. There's a few guys in my subscribers that have XRP in their channel name. Fair enough. I like that. I like that. It's passionate. But honestly, if you're going to be passionate, don't be overbearing because you'll just put people off, and that's one of the main fundamental problems. If you're predicted unrealistic numbers like that, for example, on the screen, which is a very unrealistic number, you're probably going to get laughed at, and then you're probably going to go, oh, I hate you anyways, bye bye Bitcoin. That will happen because it's fact. To get that number with XRP, you've got to times the circulating supply by the price. What you're going to get at the end of it, the market capitalization. You're talking into the hundreds of trillions here. Stupid amount of money. Impossible in the current grand scheme of things. When you look at the stock market, you're talking maybe about 3 times the size of the stock market for one coin. Somewhat unrealistic, okay? Other things to mention. I've already mentioned that. Banking. Misinformation. I think this is a very big thing. I think a lot of people get their knickers in a twist when it comes to XRP and Bitcoin. As I mentioned before, anti-bank, anti-government and all that good stuff, whereas Ripple and XRP are working alongside them to enhance it. I think that is more of a good step than a bad step for the world of cryptocurrency as a usage, to be fully endorsed, to be used, to be a usage and supply and demand matters of people holding it. Obvious, isn't it? Why would we want to try and go against them when they could potentially outlaw it and it will drop the price, people won't be able to buy it, they won't be able to get it via their own means, then we're going to have big problems. So you can't shit in your own nest essentially to kind of be a better person. Bitcoin will not survive on its own at its current prices. I can guarantee that 110% now. Bitcoin, $8,000 at the time of this video. If you are saying to me, let's go against everything, let's stop people buying this, that and the other, the governments could easily stop it. And that is true because it is not a decentralized world, I'm afraid. Why? Mining is impossible at the current price range. You don't want to upset people by doing that. Ultimately, it didn't matter back in 2011, 12, 13 because the mining output was such a smaller amount. The biggest fundamental problem is now you can buy cryptocurrency on most websites with your card. Well, the problem is there, if you go against the grain of what is happening in the real world, i.e. let's go fully decentralized, let's stop it all, people will just stop buying it. Simple as that. It's obvious. Now, I mentioned that decentralized and centralized argument just then. Again, we're getting to the pre-mine stuff, the more complicated stuff. Don't worry too much about it. No one really cares. I'll be honest with you. Centralization and decentralized. Most people use Binance. It is centralized. Most people use Bitcoin. It is kind of decentralized. Not 100% though, when you think about it. Reason why I'm saying that, you've got to use centralized systems to make it work. Okay? Mining. Most mining farms, they're controlled by people. You've got to buy into them. You've got to do this, that and the other. There's always someone controlling something. There's developers working on Bitcoin. They've got to maintain the network. Yes, there's miners, it's decentralized, it works in its own way. But there's always someone that has to be around for things to happen. If you don't have if you don't have all the people making the miners, what's the problem there? There's always going to be little isms of centralized and decentralized. That's why people overthink the obvious logic that, well, most of it is all centralized. There's always going to be people. If there's no people, it doesn't work. If there's no miners, it doesn't work. So what is the argument there? There isn't an argument. So ignore the centralized and decentralized for the time being, because the majority of the cryptocurrency space is centralized. It is. Obvious. Your exchanges are centralized. Your bank's system that XRP are using, they're all centralized. To buy cryptocurrency, you've got to do it through centralized spaces. I.e. your bank card into Coinbase that is controlled by a load of people who monitor and do KYC. Oh God, yeah. See, so what is the point of it? What is the point of talking about it? So let's talk about this as well. Reported they are holding a lot of XRP tokens. Their founder, this guy here, Stella Lumen, co-founder. Now the ultimate fundamentals of this, which is getting people's backs up, is the obvious one. Why do they need to hold it? Is it centralized? Well, it doesn't matter. Every single coin you see out there, someone in their team is holding that token. It's obvious. Well, yeah, it happens. It's one of the things. So a lot of people use that argument, and I think it's a really rubbish argument. You've got the same kettle of fish you have on Bitcoin. You've got old miners with massive amounts of money who are whales in industry, who may not even be anywhere near the project of Bitcoin, but they could drop it on people's heads. These guys are working on the project. They will not want to jump on someone else's ship and dump their coins on other people. It's suicide. So why would they do it? Again, that's one of the things. Again, let's talk about regulated sort of stuff. I think the industry needs to be regulated to a certain standard to stop manipulation. We know that, it's obvious, and a lot of people do not like me saying that, but again, I just want it so there's less scammers, and scammers are running all over the place. Now, XRP is not a scam, Bitcoin is not a scam, we know that. They are obviously real companies, they have a real use case, so there we go. But one thing that does get a lot of people's up is this element. Now, New York City State, or New York State, whatever, I don't know, I'm British, I don't know this sort of thing, but there's a license to kind of stop elements of this, that and the other with cryptocurrency, but it's starting to loosen now. For example, Coinbase, they've lifted that ban. They can now buy in New York if you are in New York soil, essentially. So that is a big thing, but that's obviously out of date now. So, you know, things are getting looser. Again, mining, meh, who cares? Positives, a Ripple, meh, not really that bothered. But let's talk about another thing. I've already mentioned it before. This is the one thing that I don't like as much is the amount that they're holding. I think it's a massive amount of money. In terms of when you convert it. Back in the day, it probably wouldn't have been, but it's also, you never know what's going to happen with the value. This value is going to go up and up and up in the coins based on usage. If they're holding it out of the supply, yeah, cool, it's held. But what happens if they drop it? Wow. So, depending on what happens, will they be selling it off? They have donated to charity in the past. They've done certain elements of events, etc., etc. But ultimately, they must be restricted in what they can do. And if they do fall out, that is where the problem will lie. Investors will be burnt. But again, it's the same with Bitcoin. If people fall out with love of Bitcoin and they're holding a lot of Bitcoin and they, for some reason, want to jump ship because of X, Y, and Z, it could cause the same effect with the whole ecosystem. Because remember, Bitcoin is a full ecosystem. A lot of people hold a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of people hold a lot of XRP. It's just one of those things. But it's the same with every coin. Ethereum's the same, Tronex is the same, Neo's the same, I don't know. Ontology is the same. They've all got big players holding massive wedges. You cannot get away from them dumping it. It's just one of the things. It just happens, okay? So, again, I think it looks bad, but in hindsight, you've got to look at other projects. We've got 2,000 other cryptocurrencies. Founders, team members, developers, whatever, they all hold elements of coins. You cannot get away with it. It makes it a really bad argument when you look at it that way. So, there you go. Other things to mention. Let's see if there's anything on here. Supply side pressure, yeah, the supply is huge, different. But yeah, honestly, all of this is just my opinion. And there's so many people that just hate XRP because of the banking sector, because of the banking element of it, and why this, that, and the other. I don't think is a problem. I personally don't. I like both of them, and I'm going to go through why. If XRP is used in a positive way, it's going to bring more people to cryptocurrency. Whether that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, I don't know, XRP, Litecoin, etc. It's going to bring people to notice that, oh, the positive effects of cryptocurrency. Right now, you look on Google, you look on Corey, like, what is cryptocurrency? You always get someone say, oh, cryptocurrency is a digital money, but it's also a scam. It's been used in Silk Road, it's been used in X, Y, and Z, and it's used for criminal activity, where it is complete and utter bollocks, we know that. But this is the sort of thing that helps people recognize what it is. Now, this is kind of my opinion on it. XRP may be one of the better fundamentally sound cryptocurrencies, which is why financial institutions have embraced the altcoin. However, many detest the digital asset as it departs from Satoshi's vision. Love it or hate it, there's money to be made. That is it. The fundamental thing. Satoshi, legend, right? Built this system where it is an absolute huge reform on the financial market, but ultimately this is a grain away from what he said. but so are thousands of other cryptocurrencies. All these are pretty much the same. There is not many very similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is its own unique thing, and I think it is a store of gold, store of value. Digital gold, essentially, not store of gold. But you know what I mean. Now, Binance is centralized as hell. Stellar has its centralized problems. You know, that doesn't even want to be mentioned. But a lot of these coins are centralized, guys. They have a usage. They are just run on a blockchain. They have a team. They have a founder. They have developers that can change certain elements in a flash. Okay, that is why the centralized and decentralized argument kind of falls on deaf ears, because it doesn't really matter. They are all controlled by people. They bloody heck. That's what I mean. It happens. News, developments, all this good stuff. Founders, they do this, that, and the other. They are all companies. They are all working the same way. But one thing is certain: the most decentralized is Bitcoin due to how it was made up. But ultimately, if it works on the blockchain, what is the difference? Now, I said at the start of the video, what am I doing with XRP? And why would I be selling into Bitcoin? Bitcoin for me, store of value, okay? It's the one that will go up more in price due to the supply. It is also still the puppet master in terms of its capitalization. It's the one that moves the market the most. If Bitcoin does its thing, it kills altcoins. If Bitcoin dumps, it kind of makes altcoins stabilize a little bit and potentially grow, depending on the dominance. I've already spoke about in other videos how you can track and do the dominance. Now, I've already said this is a very brief video in terms of why I think certain elements are hated. It's just there to put it out there that I think a lot of the arguments are kind of wishy-washy now. It doesn't really matter. We're all on the same team, we're all in the same industry. But one exchange that I do use is Bybit. Now, I do apologise. I am on my girlfriend's laptop, so you'll probably see some girls tight in a minute. If I just put in Bybit there. I use this. If you go in the link below, there's a link to this. Now, I use the fees that I get from people into my Telegram group. You can trade the asset XRP USD. Why is this such a good thing? You can margin trade XRP, okay, and you can grow your XRP. Be a bank robber. Leverage is awesome. Use it. Now, again, I've already said it. Leverage. Be brave, be bold, but learn and know what you're doing. This is not financial advice, but ultimately, if you know how to trade, look into using this. Now, this is where the big money is. This is where it's all going crazy. And this is how you grow your XRP. But ultimately, I put my XRP from here into my Bitcoin with profits. Simple as that. I do the same with Ethereum. It's as simple as that. You cannot get away from it. And there's a lot of things happening right now if you look at the screen. But ultimately, XRP is going to enhance banking. It is going to happen. We've got to get used to it. It's going to make it easy for us to send payments across the world. Very, very cheap. And it solves an issue there. That is a huge problem solved. Because, you know, the likes of Western Union, for example, awful. 5 business days? No, thank you. Bitcoin, I think, personally, honest opinion, store of value, a full fundamental usage with the mining element and the halving to create a price increase over time due to the element of the supply being a lot lower. And if Bitcoin is a store of value, it's going to be such a good asset for the whole market to keep it stable and remove a bit of the volatility that people tend to get burnt on. So that's kind of my full thoughts and opinions. Now, that again is just kind of my elements of what I believe. Okay, so if you like my channel, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, say hello, good stuff, join the Telegram group. But again, most importantly, this is a very fundamental basic video in why people hate each other in terms of XRP and stuff like that. It's just one of those things. It happens.